All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Up bright and early for our Week 9 edition of Sunday Chat. Got a fair amount of news to talk about. Obviously, the bulk of it was the trade deadline, which we already got into quite heavily. So, still got a couple pieces of information to get into. Christian, honestly, let's just get started with that little news segment.
Yeah, so let's start off real quick with one of the injured people, Justin Jefferson. So obviously with his injury that he suffered a couple weeks ago, and obviously he's coming to a speedy recovery, he will still be ineligible this week, so he'll still be on the sideline for today's game. There's still concern on both sides between the coaching staff and Justin Jefferson whether he is a little healthier or not. So obviously better safe than sorry to make sure Justin is fully healthy. Maybe a couple more games he'll be able to sit out. So hopefully he's there for the remaining of the season, which will be very crucial, especially with the whole quarterback situation going on in Minnesota.
Yeah, of course. So moving on away from the injuries, back into a trade we were just talking about in detail in our last video, getting into Montez Sweat. So obviously we were a little puzzled in this trade why the Bears made a move to go after him. But I mean, we already see they are going to have a commitment to him. They just inked him to a 4-year, $98 million extension, $72 million of that guaranteed. So obviously big money for Montez. It's obviously like what I alluded to in Bean Talk. It seems like, you know, this might be a guy that they feel they can build their defense around moving forward once they can actually start contending, which it's still a puzzling move. I mean, you see what they did last season, you know, getting rid of Roquan Smith. If they really wanted to start building a defense and, you know, look to the future with their offense, you could have had Roquan and Montez, so that would have been a really solid idea to have. It's just puzzling moves by Ryan Poles and the entire Bears front office. So we'll see what moves come forward. But I mean, regardless, a great move for Montez. You know, it was going to be, you know, tough for him to really break out there on a really struggling Commanders team. So I mean, good for him for getting his bag at a, you know, slightly better team.
Yes, now moving back onto the injury side of Damar Hamlin, which is another storyline of this week's game between the Cincinnati Bengals against the Buffalo Bills. He will be inactive in today's game in his return to Cincy. So everyone really expected it to, you know, make a return to this game, especially after the situation that happened in December of last year with this injury. But honestly, I probably see this as not really a bad sign nor a good sign. I mean, there wasn't a specific reason why he was inactive. So he's just, I guess, will not be playing in today's game. So there's probably not really too much going on into this, but obviously it would have been nice for him to, you know, possibly make the start in his return to where he was injured. But obviously he's inactive, so there's nothing really much going there and not a really huge impact to the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's still a precaution. He's still at the end of the day recovering from such a, you know, frantic injury. So obviously you see why. And, you know, sticking on that injury news. Obviously talked about this a while back. It's a little 2-for-1, but obviously focusing on one. Darren Waller has once again been placed on IR. Kind of seems like it's unfortunately been a recurrent thing for him. I mean, he's kind of known as one of the more injury-prone tight ends. I mean, when he's healthy, you know, he's up there. You know, there's not a lot of tight ends that can really, you know, say that they're up there in that regard, but he is one of them. And, you know, once again, he does have to land on the injured reserve. It's definitely going to take a blow on already struggling Giants team. And, you know, of course, you know, with Daniel Jones out, now obviously Tyrod Taylor is also being placed on IR. So it's going to be Tommy DeVito's team for a little bit, where we'll see what the Giants are able to you know, come up with moving forward. But I mean, an already struggling team getting hit with injuries like this, it's just a spot for disaster.
Yeah, and obviously closing out closing it out now with one of the final injury-related news. Kyler Murray, who obviously suffered the ACL injury last season. The Cardinals were not able to activate him off the PUP list before the deadline, so he will still miss some time. Obviously Kyler is looking to return this season. Obviously they were looking for an earlier return in the first 4 weeks, CV injured, to possibly help the Cardinals, you know, make some sort of run, but obviously it's an ACL injury. It's going to take a long time to recover, let alone Kyler Murray's situation. So he will still remain on the PUP list for time to come, unless he's 100% healthy. And from the looks of it, he's just going to make, I'm confident he's going to make a return this season without a doubt. I know a lot of people are. But from the looks of it, he is going to miss just a little bit more time. I'd rather, same thing than another guy. Something with Justin Jefferson, still a little bit more time to recover. Because really, there's no point of rushing when the Cardinals really have nowhere to go right now in this season.
Yeah, of course. I was about to just say the same thing. There's no reason to bring him back. Just, let him tank out the season and hopefully, get the best pick they can. They do have 2 first-rounders, so hope the best for them. Of course, one last bit of information before I let you slide into our next topic, and it's going to be obviously a personal one for me. Matthew Stafford, and we know obviously in that really disappointing game against the Cowboys last week, we know he was really battered, struggling with injury. He did have to come out of the game for a little bit, and it's been speculated he's been questionable the whole week. Now we know he's unlikely to play here against the Packers. It's leading more towards him being out, but the Rams still are holding out hope that maybe come game time decision he can suit up. I've been saying this for the longest time. Why? There's no point to make him suit up just to suffer an even worse injury, a more serious injury. Just let him ride it out. I don't want to see Brett Rypien start. He's obviously not a viable backup. That's why I've always preached that I really wish the Rams can actually get a solid backup. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be it probably will be Rypien. It's gonna take me give me a big hit in fantasy, which I will be getting into right now. But we'll see. Hopefully, the bye is coming up after this week, so hopefully 2 weeks to really recover for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and that's going to wrap up the news segment for today's video. So obviously now moving on to our next one, as usual, those fantasy teams. They will be up on the screen right here. So this was a pretty solid team for me last week as well. Got a pretty lengthy W, except for, Hayden Hurst giving me 0. But, still got it. And, George Pickens already played for me. Only got me 1.9. Had negative yardage that whole game. I don't know what to do with George Pickens. It's kind of, hit or miss for me and him, but obviously it's gonna be 2 people once again that are really going to be a factor, which is gonna be CD and Dak. They went off against the Rams last week. They combined for I think almost 70 together. So and then we're playing a Philadelphia team that's on their heels right now, 7-1, best arguably best team in the league right now. So obviously I'm gonna need a pretty big game for the both of them, especially with Dak containing that ball, no turnovers this game, and then obviously being comfortable in the pocket, getting used to everything, and then obviously hitting CD on target, which is what happens when you target your receiver 1. We saw last week good things are coming, especially with CD. He's finally having a little burst now, so I really expect a big game from both of them.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I know very well how that duo is, a formidable duo in this league, and obviously they showed out for you last week. But of course, now my team up here on screen, and I'm feeling relatively good. I got 3 guys at the moment already playing in the Germany game, and so obviously I'll just get into some little pieces that I'd like to get into. So first off, it was a tough decision for me. I was really taking this one into consideration, and I decided to start Zach Moss over Alexander Mattison. He kind of is. I just look at matchups. They're playing the Carolina Panthers, and sure, Jonathan Taylor kind of has been getting a little more production, but it's give and go. To see who has the hot hand. So hoping Zach Moss is the one with that hot hand, and Madison's been a little more bust than boom. So hopefully this pays off for me. Another big deal for me, what I just alluded to, Puka Nacua. How much production can he really get if Stafford doesn't play? Even if Stafford plays, he's going to be battered. So I went with my guy. I benched D-Hop and kept Puka in. And obviously, D-Hop, he got 10 points. So if Puka gets less than 10, that's going to be a struggle for me. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. And just the last bit, I decided to rotate out my kicker. As much as I see the Eagles winning, as we mentioned before, I feel like Jake Elliott won't be that much of a factor. So I decided to bring in Dustin Hopkins, who is one of the premier kickers in the league. So also got a really favorable matchup against the Cardinals. So feel like that would be a better move than Jake Elliott. And so now moving into cash or trash, obviously back in week 8, we were back on tight ends and we split them. So we kind of been splitting these here and there. I went with Mark Andrews and he did give me that good points. Obviously, with a touchdown was basically the difference in getting that victory over Dallas Goedert for you. And for trash, 2 pretty mediocre games for our guys, but of course Hunter Henry did have a little bit of a worse showing, so he got you the points over Tyler Higbee for me. And of course now we'll move it into this week, which back to the top of the list, back on quarterbacks. Pickings are getting a little slower now that this is already our 3rd time around. See we got, we still got some very solid guys. So I'll get into it right away. My cash quarterback of the week is hopefully this doesn't go too bad for me in the game he's got, but I got Jalen Hurts. As much as I know how formidable that Cowboys defense is, I do have the Eagles getting the win, and I do believe that Hurts can put up some decent numbers. It's going to be a close game. Obviously, we know how great those games always go for the Cowboys and Eagles, but with the guys we got left, I've got to go with my gut with Jalen Hurts. And for trash, gonna go with the rookie quarterback top pick in Bryce Young. He does have not too hard of a matchup. Sure, it's against the Minshew-led Colts, but that defense has shown to show some flashes. So I'm confident that against a not so good team in the Carolina Panthers, I'm kind of expecting Bryce Young to struggle here once again. Obviously in this first season.
Yes, obviously, we're rotating back, and it's a lot of great games this week. We actually got a lot of great games from top teams, so it's kind of little indecisive of who we want to pick, but obviously we made it through. So obviously with my cash pick, I got Josh Allen. So yeah, it's gonna be a great game with him against the Cincinnati Bengals. I was low-key leading towards Hurts, but I decided to stick with Josh Allen. So hopefully that doesn't come bite me in the ass next week. But yeah, I got Josh Allen, let alone Cincy. We talked about it, resurging Cincy team that's kind of getting back on their heels once again. But I feel like Josh Allen and his connection with Stephon Diggs, if he's able to get started early, and Josh Allen is able to, protect the ball, stay calm, which is one thing he really needs to do since he's forcing some passes most of the time. But I feel like, he gets in his groove, he's going to have a pretty solid game. And then for my trash pick, I got Mac Jones. Obviously, it was kind of weird, tough for me going for Mac Jones, especially since he's playing a little better now, especially coming off a bye now. So we're going to see from there. But and they're going against the Commanders, which is a pretty sneaky team that's led by Sam Howell. I mean, he put up 400, about 400 on the Phillies defense. So, I guess you consider them a trap team, as that's pretty even matchup between both. But I hopefully don't see any huge production from Mac Jones going on with this Commanders team.
And of course, I see. It's going to be more parity in these picks. We'll see who gets on top moving forward. You got that slight lead over me. We'll see how that looks going on into next week. But of course, that's going to wrap us up here for our 9th edition of Sunday Chat. Got pretty heavy slate of games this week. As you mentioned, a lot of the top teams are going on head to head. So lot of great information that we're gonna have to get into on next Wednesday, and hopefully you guys can stick around for that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys real soon.